YouTube land. We are coming to you just a little bit past the 12 o'clock hour, but I had a little bit of difficulty here on my end. Got it all cleared up and we are good to go. So welcome. I want to make sure I'm on mute over here. Perfect. Welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel and the live DIY stitch marker event. We are on day 11, Caitlin, day 11 of the stitch marker event. I can't believe there are that many stitch markers that we've done so far. Pretty exciting. Not gonna lie, we talked about this a little bit in the last one. I went to Michael's and bought a whole bunch of beads, and then I had beads delivered from like the number beads from Amazon this weekend so that I could make some row counters. And like I pulled out all of my bead stuff from Beadalon, and so my dining room table is a hot mess, and my husband's like, what are we doing? All of that is to say you have created a monster, and not just with me. I know that in the Marley's Minions Facebook group, which everybody, if you're not a part of it, you should come join us. It's a wonderful community of people. I love it in there. But does it excite you to see how many people, like this weekend, it was like stitch marker weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely love seeing the stitch markers in general, but it's been really cool to see people say, like, hey, I saw this on the video and now I went and tried it,
Yeah.
Or somebody commented, oh, I had that tool, I just haven't used it yet, but now I'm going to go get it out and use it. Like, to me, that's really fun because there's just so many ways to use things that we pick up because we just think are cool. But, here's how you actually use them and make with them.
Right. I think it's neat. So my daughter has been bugging me about the kiln one. She's like, we got to make some glass ones, Mom. So I'm like, okay, I got to order that, sweetheart, Anyways, so if you are new to the stitch marker event, welcome. You probably are like, what the heck are you talking about? Over the last 10 business days, Caitlin has been showing us a different way to make stitch markers each day for your knitting and your crochet. It's essentially jewelry for your knitting and your crochet, because if you don't already know, Caitlin is an avid, not average. I almost said average. I didn't want to say average. Avid jewelry maker. She is just multi-talented, and so she is sharing all of her wisdom with us throughout each day. We do have let me put it this way. We have a blog post. That's your book. Go to the blog post, you scroll down, and you can find the link to each day that we did stitch markers, and those are your chapters in your book. So you essentially click on the link, and that will take you to the instructions for that particular stitch marker. So it is a 2-click process that you have to go through to get the instructions, but that's the best way we could do it as far as organizing. Seems pretty logical to me. So hopefully everybody's getting it pretty all right. So that will be the same case for today. So I will put a link to the main blog post in the video description box right down there. While you're down there, take the time and smash that like button, please. It is always good for YouTube to know that you guys are liking these videos. And if you have not yet subscribed to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. If it's an invitation, here it is. So please subscribe to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. All right, so Caitlin, I'm going to let you take it away. I'm going to start saying hello to everybody who's here in the chat. There's quite a few people here today, and I'm going to get everything situated.
Awesome. So yes, as Marley said, we are here on day 11 of 12. So happy that we got this far. We've been doing all these great things. We only have one more day, guys. But as always, please tell us down in the comments if you're really enjoying this, if you'd like to see it again with some different ideas, if you'd potentially like kits for a next time that we do it, that you'd be able to get the materials and the tools all together for you in some sort of capacity that we'd have to work out. But let us know in the comments what you're thinking so we can continue to plan for a next time. So again, you can always head over to that main blog post for your calendar. We are all the way over here, so you only have one day left. But today we're going to be talking about making knots, and we're specifically going to make the Pipa Knot, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. And then we'll say this again at the end, but I want to make sure that we talk about it now. Tomorrow we have like a double feature, and we have the Yarn Thing podcast at noon Eastern, and we're going to be making a really awesome project journal with a special guest. And then at 1:30 Eastern, we're going to be back here again making our final stitch markers for the event. So double header tomorrow, be here for the podcast regular time, followed up by the stitch marker event. So, okay, I think we're good to bring it down to my hands. So let's switch it around.
So many people here today. There's a couple new people here too that are excited. So we have people from Florida, Missouri, New York, Vermont. Gosh, so many. I love it when people come here and they're like, hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here. My mom is here yet again. She has been digging this, by the way. Every time I'm on the phone with her, she's talking about how much we got to make stitch markers the next time she's here. Let's see. We have Texas, Oklahoma, Staten Island. Monica wants to say that Caitlin, your poncho looks amazing. If you guys don't know, we have been doing the summer wardrobe event, and Caitlin has been working diligently on this poncho using little tiny yarn. I've got the yarn. This little tiny yarn, croquette yarn, you guys. So it's string. I mean, like uber string. How long did it take you?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So not super bad.
Not too bad. Not too bad. I mean, I was trying for 2, but we got it done in 3.
Awesome. All right, I'll let you take it down to the hands. Everybody's saying hello. As she's going along, you guys, do not forget to, make comments in the chat. I'll be there to answer as many questions as possible, and I can pop in and ask her questions too. All right.
Perfect. Okay, so this is what we're making. It's called a Pipa Knot. And knotting is not only big for like a macrame, but I mean, really think about it. Your knitting and your crochet is series of interlocking knots. And so this kind of just made sense to talk about knots and figure out different ways to do knotting. We already did the macrame. So if you didn't see that one, head back in the YouTube videos on the blog, and you can see our stitch marker event or tutorial for that as well. But this is just, like a regular, well, I shouldn't say regular. It's not really like a functional knot that you would use to tie 2 things together, but it's a really decorative knot. And, you could use this as earrings. You could use this for a pendant. You can use this as a stitch marker, or, any kind of decoration. You could really make these out of yarn and attach them to your blanket or a shawl instead of like fringe, like do little Pipa Knot fringes or something like that. That would be really cool. But there's so many different knots out there that you can do. But this one was one of the easiest to be able to show, because a lot of them are complicated and you've got to twist your material in different locations. So we're going to start with the Pipa Knot, and then hopefully if you enjoy it, you can kind of keep building your skills as well. You can see here that I have 2 different materials. This is a suede or a faux suede material that, sorry, the white, I didn't think about that very well, but the white here that I got at Michael's, which I put a link in the blog post that you'll find up on the website. And we're going to use this today just because it's a little bit easier to see and manipulate on camera than this. But this is a cotton cord that I got. You can use this to make tassels and whatnot. But it's a 3-ply with a bunch of little strands in between it. I took the plies apart and used one. You can see there's a little bit less definition in this because it's not as structured of a material. It's a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker. But when you use this type of material, you can go ahead and dye it. And you can dye it with Kool-Aid. Let me grab this here. Just like we did with this yarn, there's a tutorial and it's in the blog post. I linked it, but we did a tutorial all about dyeing yarn with Kool-Aid. And this is Chic Sheep and linen. And then I used 2 different colors of Kool-Aid, a blue and a purple, to get this cool effect. And it's the exact same way you could go about dyeing your cotton cord. So you could check that out if you want to see how to do that. Okay.
So we have our first question. They want to know, why is it called a Pipa Knot? I've never even heard of it before.
I don't know. That's just what it's called. I should have researched that. Good
because
question,
it
guys.
is.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just what they called it.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a reason. I mean, there's so many different knots and nautical knots and all that kind of stuff. And they all have a purpose and a reason. I'm sorry. I just don't know that. I'll have to look it up and then I can link to it in the blog post.
Awesome. Google's going to be our friend for that one, y'all.
History buffs. Okay. So let's start. Or did you have another question? Okay. we're going to start here at the beginning, as always, if you've been following along. And we're going to be making knit stitch markers using jump rings today, just because that's the theme of what we've been doing all along. But you do have some options if you want to make a crochet stitch marker. And you could take and add what is called a lobster clasp to your piece. And this little knob over here, you just pull it back. Sorry, it's easier with my thumb. You pull it back and it opens it, and then you would be able to slide that onto your stitches, just like that. And you can get all different sizes of the lobster clasp. So you can get much larger if you're going to use like a bulkier weight yarn. Or you could also consider grabbing an earring finding like this hinged one, and you just open it up like that. You could slide your stitches on here. And this one's also great because of the large hole here. You can also slide that right onto your knitting needles. So that's a really great one for both knit and crochet. Okay, so those are our two other ways. There's a lot of, you could definitely come up with different ways of doing it. Or attaching different things, but that's what we're talking about today. And if you notice, this jump ring is quite large because of what I had to put it through. This is one that I made after doing the tutorial with Meredith from Beadalon. So go back and check that out. If you don't have jump rings, but you have wire, you can make your own jump rings with some simple tools that you probably have around the house or would be easy to pick up. But you can make your own jump ring so that it fits whatever size needle you have. Okay, so for today, we're going to need a length of suede. And I mean, this is just material you can buy. I bought this in a pack of 5 colors, I think 5 or 6 colors at Michael's in the jewelry section. And you're going to need some glue. I'm going to use my B7000, but you can also use E6000 or another glue like that. You could probably even get away with hot glue on this because of the material that we're using. And you only need such a little bit amount. You're just going to need a drop here on the back to secure this, that you could probably get away with hot glue, but I'm still going to recommend going with a jeweler's glue just to be a little secure. And you're also going to need a scissors to go ahead and cut your material. So I went ahead and I cut, let's see, so about 12, 13 inches here. Oh no, 12 inches. This one only, yeah. 12 inch, around 13 inches, okay? Or whatever you want to do. Again, just like we talked about before, like when we did the wire hearts, the length that you cut is going to impact the size of your finished piece. And as always, if you cut more than you need, it's always easy to cut it off, especially in this case, you can't really add more to it. So I'm going with I would not go shorter than 12 inches, especially when getting started and trying to move things around. I will also say I am not a knot expert, so you will see me fiddle around with things to try to get it in the right place. I'm sure if you do this often, you can whip through your knotting, and just like everything else, more practice makes everything easier. Okay, so you're going to start here with your piece, and I'm going to use my left as my tail and the right as the side that I'm working. And I'm going to start by making a loop at the top. So here's my little tail, that was my left, looping it around down to my right. Okay. And this loop here at the top is your loop right here that you're going to end up putting your jump ring on in the end. And so what I'm going to do is this is going to come down, and I'm going to use my ring finger here to hold it. And I'm going to come back up and cross over my starting piece. Okay. And right now I'm determining the size of my last loop, or my lowest piece here. And I'm also determining the size of my loop on the top by where I place this first cross. So I want to kind of keep it up close. I don't need this loop to be tight or small, or yes, I want it to be small, not large. I don't need it to be large, so I'm keeping it small. And that's kind of what it looks like. Then I'm wrapping it around my loop, and I'm going to follow the path of that piece. And see, I'm just nestling it in there, and then I'm coming back up here, and I'm crossing over again, but I'm crossing over, oops, sorry, just below the first one. And then I'm going to wrap it around and I'm following. So see how it's crossing over like that? And I'm going to wrap it up and I'm going to cross it over. And here I am, I'm coming to the end of mine. So then I'm just going to tuck it down into the hole. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to take this side, this was my tail, and I'm going to tuck that into my hole. And so now I have my two pieces. Now mine's a little bit looser than I would like. So I'm actually just going to kind of fiddle with it to pull it a little bit tighter. And pull that to pull my
Could you
loop
just
down.
undo it and remake it? I mean, not
You
not
could,
right now, but I'm just asking if it would be a possibility.
yeah, if you don't like it, you could always start over again, or you can kind of do what I'm doing and just kind of keep massaging it
Mhm.
until it's in the right spot. Now you can see mine kind of loosened up. I would probably go back and do this again.
Mhm.
It's just one of those things you got to keep playing with it, but I can also keep kind of snugging it up this way
So I'm gonna
as
ask, can you
well.
just redo it? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't take very long, and then
Nope.
everybody can see it again. And while
Yep.
you're
Yep.
doing that, AJ has looked up what Pipa Knot means.
Oh,
Says
good.
the Pipa Knot is a unique Chinese macrame knot that is based on the figure eight shape. The pipa is a Chinese musical instrument similar to the lute, which is pear shaped like this knot. The more you know. All
Very
right.
cool.
Okay.
Okay. So here we go again. You start at the top, you have your end and you're working and you're making your loop. Okay. And then I'm going to take my working side. And as you can see, I have my working piece laying next to my tail. And I'm coming up this way to cross over. And I'm going to snug that up a little bit so I don't have as large of a loop this time. I'm crossing over the top, wrapping around my top loop, crossing over, and following that first loop that I made. So right around in here, I'm crossing back over the loop like I did before, wrapping behind, over, and following around. And I'm going to go around one more time. So I cross over, behind, and now I'm going to feed it right through that last loop that I made and pull it down. And now you can see that's a much tighter looping. And I can pull this here to snug up the loop here on the top so it's as big as I want. And then I'm just going to follow the path here and go back into the hole. And then I'm going to pull that through. And again, just move it around so it gets where you want it to be. And so there is my knot.
Perfect. That looks so much better. And then you know what? I think that's great too because it shows everybody how easy it is just to, get it to
Yep.
the way you want it.
Right. And so then I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to stick a little bit of glue here where they cross over, just so they stay tacked together and it doesn't accidentally get pulled out here at the top or pulled out here at the bottom. So I'm just going to take my glue, stick a little dot. And you really don't need a ton of glue because you don't want it to be coming out. And I'm just going to use the top so I don't get it all over my fingers. So I just have my cap on and I'm just pushing it together like that. Now you have a choice that you could, since you glued this after you wait for it to cure, you could go ahead and you could cut these off completely. But I kind of like how it looks with the little like legs sticking out. And if you're using this, I tied a knot on the back and put some glue in there. I could have left my tails long and kind of made it into its own tassel. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to just snip this off so that they're a little bit shorter, just like that. And then I'll take a jump ring and my pliers. And just a reminder, when you're doing your jump ring, you're going to grab it with your 2 pliers and you're going to twist one up and one down so that you open it with a twist, not out. Because if you open it out, you're going to stretch it out and you're not going to be able to get your shape back. And you're also going to change the integrity of your loop. And that's not what you want. And then so you're going to grab your 2 pieces and I'm going to twist in the opposite direction and I'm going to just wiggle it until you hear it click and you know that it's together. You can feel them flush against each other. So there we go. Flush against each other. And you're good to go to put that on your needles. So you can make these in a ton of colors. You can do a ton of different materials. This is using the suede. This is using a cotton cord. You could also use a leather. You could, I don't think you want to use yarn for this. It just doesn't have the structure that you want for it, because even the cotton cord is a little bit fiddly to play around with it. And you also want to use smaller materials so that your knot doesn't get too large to put on your project. Not that they're heavy, but as you can see here, so here's my project. I mean, even putting this on, that's kind of getting to be a large stitch marker that might start to get in the way if it gets much larger than this. But with the suede version, it's still a good size that you'll notice it. It looks really cool and decorative, but it's not too big yet.
It's very pretty. And it's absolutely different. Like, it's absolutely different. Could you use like,
yeah,
it's called paracord or?
Yes, you can use paracord. That's what a lot of times they do with these knots. The only thing with paracord is, again, you're going to get probably something larger. I know they do make smaller paracord, but I haven't tried it. So you might want to try it out first because, again, you just don't want it to get too large that it becomes a nuisance in your knitting as opposed to a tool to help you.
So in the chat room, somebody mentioned that these would make great zipper pulls or even like a dangle from your purse. So maybe the paracord and stuff would be great for something along those lines.
Yeah, the paracord is definitely used for zipper pulls often. So that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I love it. This is awesome. So much fun. Something completely different. I've never even seen that before. So it's cool.
Yeah, so it was a super simple one compared to some of the others that we've done. But I wanted to show you that with very simple tools and techniques, like you can make beautiful stitch markers from it. And you can really have things to make your pieces look beautiful as well. And don't forget too, like what I love about using the hinged option is throw that onto here. Now you have a really cute pair of earrings. Plus, when you're in a pinch, you take it off and you can use this as a stitch marker. So you kind of always have one with you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. People are commenting about your little cat container there.
Oh, this is a sneak peek for tomorrow.
People are loving that. Let me see what else are people want to know the glue you're using. I know you've talked about the glue quite a bit in each of the different stitch marker things that we've done. So AJ has a question. If she has or he has, I'm not sure if it's a boy or girl or if they have super glue, would that work as well? Or why are you choosing B7000? And then of course people are singing the praises of E6000.
Yeah, so you could use super glue on this particular project. I try to stay away from super glue as much as possible because I do a lot of jewelry making. Okay. And the reason you don't want to use super glue when you're adding beads particularly crystal beads or glass beads, is because if you get super glue on it, it's going to give it a foggy haze, where this glue will not do that. This is actually an epoxy glue. So it actually has to go through a cure time to set up and everything. But it's really great for jewelry making because it will bond to metals. It'll bond to pretty much anything if you give it enough time to set up. I mean, we use this on the glass and the metal, and it works really great. It's going to hold it for a long time. You don't have to worry about it. And the B7000 versus E6000, it's all in the same family. Typically, this just has a little bit less smell to it. And this version, I was able to get that precision point on it so that I can get it exactly where it is. If you look at an E6000, there's very few options that you have to get it with a smaller tip. So you end up having to use a Q-tip with it. Not a Q-tip, I'm sorry, a toothpick with it to apply it, which is perfectly fine. But also a suggestion, if you're gonna buy it, get a small tube like this because it will dry out eventually, even with the cap on it and nice and tight. You will find that, you know, if you're not using it, it's gonna dry out. So you'd rather have a little tube dry out than one of the big tubes if you're not going to be using it regularly.
Cool. We also have a question about wax thread. Could you use waxed thread to make these knots?
I'm sure you could. The only thing would be to consider is how thick of a wax thread you're using. There's different thicknesses of it. So you'd probably want to go with one of the thicker versions of it just to be able to have a large enough stitch marker. I mean, you could try it with some of the thin ones. It just might be a little bit more fiddly to work with. But the waxed linen or other threads would be great because it does have a little bit of a grip to it that it'll hold itself together.
And Catherine suggests even nylon flat plastic cording might be a good idea.
Yeah, you could definitely do that as well.
I mean, this is neat. It's a really cool thing. Leather lace is a little smaller and may work great for makers. That was from Kathy. And Betty Lopez agrees that these would make great earrings. And Melissa suggests felt strips would work as well. So a lot of people are liking it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different material. And if you don't want to put glue on the back here, I would just take your two pieces and hold them together and grab a little piece of thin gauge wire, like maybe a 24 gauge, and just wrap it around, and that'll hold your two pieces together so that they don't fall out as well, which would be great for, you know, some of the different materials that we've talked about that you might not be able to glue as easily to each itself.
Speaking of glue, somebody mentions that super glue does yellow over time, so that's something to consider. Yeah. I would just trust you. Just when in doubt, trust Caitlin. So that's what I do. All right. So you did say that was a brief, like little clue for tomorrow. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, just so that people know?
Sure.
And then, go ahead.
Okay. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about 3D printers, and this was made on a 3D printer. And it's just a little container, and then you can put your stitch markers right. Oh, I just lost the lid. Oops. You can put your stitch markers right inside. So we're not going to make this tomorrow, just because this takes like almost 2 hours or a little bit more to actually make. But what we're going to do tomorrow is I'm going to show you how the printer actually works, and we're going to let it run for about 15 minutes or so to let one make itself. And then I'm going to show you how you can take it off then and everything else like that. So we're going to kind of run through it. And so it's a Silhouette Alta that we're going to be using tomorrow. So it's a really accessible one, and it's not super expensive. I mean, 3D printers are expensive regardless, but this is like a craft and hobby 3D printer. So you're looking at like $200-300 as opposed to getting like a really big heavy duty one that's going to be a couple $1,000s.
So my mom, she writes, "Oh goodness, Marley, you need to go buy one now. Hurry." I'm like, seriously? Thanks, Mom. Y'all joke around about hashtag Marley made me do it and hashtag Caitlin made me do it.
Now sorry, guys.
Darlene made me do it. People are saying that they've been looking at those printers. Betty says that she just bought one, and it and they are too fun. So this will be cool. I've never even really seen one. I don't know how they work. So this will be exciting for me to find out.
So we'll be able to walk you through it and just let you see the process of it, so you can get a taste of it and see if you want to do it. Because really, it comes with 3D files, which there's not a ton of them as of right now. It's still a fairly new piece, but you can also make your own files to make all sorts of shapes and designs and things like that. So it's really cool.
So Melissa is asking me kind of a question on the sly, and I'm going to answer it live and I can't give information. I'm just going to kind of just give here's the question. So Marley, if I were to go to Joann and get stitch marker supplies and would happen to pick up some Bernat Symphony yarn, how many balls do you think I should buy? Smiley face, blink, 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 blink. And I would say 7 balls will get you a very nice project. Yes, that's what I will say. 7 balls of symphony yarn will make a fantastic knit project. And that's all I have to say about that. So, okay. Awesome. Everybody is talking now. They're discussing the printers and where they bought them, how much they were, and all that good stuff. So there's that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one. We kind of saved it for the end to kind of be our big shebang, because it is going to be not intensive, but like I want to walk you through the process to show you how easy it is to actually make one of these stitch markers. And really the pieces that we're making are not stitch markers. Like they are just the right shape with a loop on it that we can turn it into that. But you can definitely expand past that to make a lot of cool things.
So my daughter made a couple of observations. She had done those rainbow loom stuff for a while, and she was like, Mom, we can make some cool stitch markers with the rainbow loom stuff. So that's an idea for us to do. And then of course, there's all sorts of other stitch markers ideas. Even just going to the store and getting the charms and turning those in. There's so many easy things that we could do. So that would be really good.
You could just go get the charms and then you can make your own jump rings and just throw those on there. You really don't have to do any kind of wire. You could even just buy jump rings to put on if you don't want to. So you would need jump rings, the charms, and 2 pliers, and you'd be good to go to make a whole set of stitch markers for yourself with whatever theme you want to go with.
Yeah, I love it. So much fun. Tomorrow's the last day. I can't believe it. I can't believe it's the last day.
I know.
So it's a big day tomorrow. We are using the Sizzix machine tomorrow, right?
Yes.
On the podcast.
Yes.
And then the 3D printer for the stitch. So it could be an all day Marley day for you guys. So just grab your knitting, grab your crochet, come hang out with us. And why not? What else are you going to do? Work?
Yeah, really.
Who wants to work? No. Yeah, my hair. I'm not used to being able to touch it and like move it around and stuff. I usually have it like plastered with hairspray. That's neither here nor there. Okay. That's it for me. Do you have anything else?
No, just a reminder that the podcast is at noon tomorrow, and then the Stitch Marker event is at 1:30. All are here on the YouTube channel. So just like hang out here all day and set your notification bell so you know when we're live. And also if you just go to like the main Marley Bird YouTube channel page, it'll show up there. You might have to refresh your page, but it will show up there when we're live that you can just click the video to see us.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. Well, we are actively working on the hashtag Marley made me do it, and Caitlin made me do it. Darlene says that we need Marley's mom made me do it.
Yeah. And don't forget to post the pictures. Like if you guys are going out, we saw pictures of some resin being done.
Yes.
And some other things. So please, like, even if it's not what we've been doing, share with us what you are doing. So we have other ideas too, and other people have ideas of what they can make.
Yeah. Marcia Fleming, real quick, she says, what pliers are you using to open the jump rings? And they're just the needle nose pliers, right?
No, they're chain nose.
I don't know what they're called. Chain nose?
Chain nose pliers, yeah.
Okay. There you go.
So they're like that. Awesome. These are from Beetle On. They're my favorites. But I mean, there's different kinds. Like these are just their like traditional ones that you're going to find everywhere is the black handles, but they have the ergonomic handles like this, which, I mean, they definitely feel different in my hand, but I guess maybe I don't do it enough that the black bother me. And then you can also buy, we've put a link in some of the blog posts, there's a kit with sparkle handles, and you can get all the pliers in one kit together, so you don't have to buy them individually.
Perfect. Cool. All right, make sure you click on the link in the video description box below. Smash that like button, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.